This is a fake intro. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, what's up, everybody? Dr. Croco. Welcome back to Dr. Croco's Spooky Show podcast. Tonight, we're going to be covering the Toybox Killer. I think you guys are going to find this very enjoyable. Now, this man was a serial killer. This man was known for the deaths of roughly 50 women, but they do not have an actual number on how many it could be. He's accredited to 50 to 60 women. And we are going to get into this sadistic story tonight of a man named David Parker Ray. Now, his name is just David Ray, but when you become a serial killer, you become David Parker Ray. I think they found out that that just made it a little more sinister if you had that middle name in there. Now, welcome to everybody from my community. Welcome to anybody that came from Chalk Body Outlines community. Make sure you subscribe to his D-Live, his YouTube, because he's been a, just someone in my corner that's always been cool to me. Now, if you look up Toybox Killer, if you look up David Parker Ray, you're basically just going to come around a bunch of sick imagery. Like, you're not going to have much reference for what they're showing you. But we'll get into the relevance of each photo. And I'll explain to you why exactly it's called the Toybox Killer. Now, what is a toy box? Well, in this case, it's a sex dungeon. It's a torture chamber. It's a torture box. As he called it, it was Satan's den. Now, what he did was he created a soundproof trailer where he tortured his victims. Inside, he had a gynecological chair with electrical shockers, whips, chains, various torture devices, and he just called it his toy box. He just loved playing in his little toy box. So you'll look up images of this guy, and you'll notice some women along the way. Some are victims. Some are co-conspirators, if you could believe it. Women that would help him get other women. The story gets deep. It gets sick. Again, shout out to Warfist for the art for tonight's show and tonight's thumbnail. He does the work. He does not want any money for the work. He considers it a donation to the show, and I appreciate him for that. Now, let's talk a little bit about David Parker Ray. Now, the way I'm going to lay this out is I'm going to tell you the story of David Parker Ray. A little history about him. What he did. But I will also be adding in clips of the tour inside the torture chamber. And one very, very, very sadistic thing that he did. What he would do is, once he had you in his soundproof toy box, once he had you in the gynecological chair, I hope I'm saying that word right. Gynecological. It sounds right. Once he had you bound there, once he electrified you a few times, he would play you a tape that lasted 8.5 minutes of where he detailed very eloquently and sadistically exactly what was going to happen to you in an almost mocking tone. You're not getting out. You should get comfortable and proceed to tell them how they were going to be raped, where they were going to be raped, how they're never leaving. And we'll play that tape for you guys. So it's a horrifying story. Now, David Parker Ray himself, and of course, I'll get you guys some images of him so you guys get an understanding of what he looks like. This is David Parker Ray. What's next to him there is, at first it was kind of padlocked up, but even after they got into it, they did an X-ray scan of the outside of the truck. Benton may have seen this technique before. They do this like, I'm not saying Benton has done this, but he might have. If you like run drugs, if you do like anything illegal, it's like when you go through the airport and they put your luggage through, but they just put your fucking 18-wheeler through, and they can see kind of everything everywhere. They did this with his truck, and you can see all the whips and the chains. Obviously, the camera set up because these sickos have to have it. So the Toybox killer. Now, he's believed to have tortured and killed more than 50 women. I've heard 60. I've heard 70. Inside his soundproof trailer. Just make sure here. Alright. So, on March 19th, 1999, 22-year-old, a woman named Cynthia Vigil, was just hooking in a parking lot in Albuquerque, New Mexico, when a man, claiming to be an undercover cop, told her she was under arrest for solicitation of sex work and put her in the back of his car. He told me I was under arrest, put me in handcuffs. That man's name? David Parker Ray. He brought Vigil to his nearby soundproof trailer, which he called his toy box. He then chained her to the gynecologist table. Gynecologist table. That sounds better. Oh, talk about victim blaming out there. Sad. No, just kidding. So he brought her to the nearby soundproof trailer. He then changed her to the gynecologist type table because he tailored this thing. Right in the center of the trailer. And over the next 3 days, raped, tortured, with help from his girlfriend and accomplice, Cindy Hendy. And we'll get into Cindy and her role in this. We'll get into his daughter's role in this. The two of them used whips, medical instruments, electric shock, sexual instruments, just all this kind of stuff. Ray would play a cassette tape with a recording detailing exactly what she would be forced to endure. And if you want a little look at the torture gynecological or gynecological, why can't I say that word? It's a gynecologist, so it's a gynecological table, right? Gynecological, but it's a gynecologist. You know, yeah, these people have girlfriends. Yeah, they have girlfriends, they have daughters, and they all play roles in this story. So that's the table, or the chair, I should say. It's got the shocks and stuff. So you play them this 8.5-minute long tape. Now, I'm just going to play you the tape. Now, men, women, imagine yourself one different time. No one today is falling for the, hey, you're under arrest, but it's not an officer, and they're bringing you into a normal car and then taking you to a trailer. Hopefully most people wouldn't fall for that today, but back in the day they could use, oh, it's our undercover car. They could just put some shitty store-bought badge on, and a lot of them use this technique to pick up women and then kill them. Legend. That's a lot nicer than my bedroom. I don't doubt it, buddy. So we're just going to imagine you just got picked up. You know shit's about to be really bad once you see that chair. Once you've been shocked a few times, raped a couple times, and then he leaves you alone, and you're sitting alone in this chair. It's soundproof, so scream if you want, baby. And he plays you this tape.
It's time to watch people die.
The following is a transcription of an advisory message that was tape recorded by David Ray Parker on July 23rd, 1993. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello there, bitch. Are you comfortable right now? I doubt it. Wrists and ankles chained, gagged, probably blindfolded. You are disoriented and scared too, I would imagine. Perfectly normal under the circumstances. For a little while at least, you need to get your shit together and listen to this tape. It is very relevant to your situation. I'm going to tell you in detail why you have been kidnapped, what's going to happen to you, and how long you'll be here. I don't know the details of your capture because this tape is being created July 23rd, 1993 as a general advisory tape for all future female captives. The information I'm going to give you is based on my experience dealing with captives over a period of several years. If at a future date there are any major changes in our procedures, the tape will be upgraded. Now you are obviously here against your will, totally helpless, you don't know where you're at, don't know what's going to happen to you. You're very scared or very pissed off. I'm sure that you've already tried to get your wrists and ankles loose, and no you can't. Now you're just waiting to see what's going to happen next. You probably think you're going to be raped, and you're fucking sure right about that. Our primary interest is what you've got between your legs. You'll be raped thoroughly, and repeatedly, in every hole you've got, because basically you've been snatched and brought here for us to train and use you as a sex slave. Sound kind of far out? Well, I suppose it is to the uninitiated, but we do it all the time. It's gonna take a lot of adjustment on your part, and you're not gonna like it one fucking bit, but I don't give a rat's ass about that. It's not like you're gonna have any choice in the matter. You've been taken by force, and you're going to be kept and used by force. What all this amounts to is that you're going to be kept naked and chained up like an animal, to be used and abused at any time we want to, in any way that we want to. And you may as well start getting used to it because you're going to be kept here and used until such time as we get tired of fucking around with you. And we will, eventually, in a month or two, maybe 3. It's no big deal. My lady friend and I have been keeping sex slaves for years. We both have kinky hang-ups involving rape, dungeon games, etc. We found that it is extremely convenient to keep 1 or 2 female captives available constantly to, satisfy our particular needs. We are very selective when we snatch a girl to use for these purposes. It goes without saying that you have a fine body and you're probably young, maybe very young, because for our purposes we prefer to snatch girls in the early to mid-teens, sexually developed, but still small-bodied, scared shitless, easy to handle, and easy to train. They usually have tight little pussies and assholes. They make perfect slaves, and anytime we go on a hunting trip, if we can't find a teenager, we usually start hitting the gay bars, look for a well-built, big-tittied lesbian. I thoroughly enjoy raping and screwing around with lesbians, and there's not much as a danger of them carrying a sexually transmitted disease. I don't like using condoms. Also, even though they're a little older, unless they've been playing with dildos a lot, they still have tight little holes between their legs like the younger girls. If we can't find a lesbian that we want, we snatch anything that's young, clean, and well-built. We very seldom come back empty-handed, because there's plenty of bitches out there to choose from, and with a little practice and deception, most of them are very easy to get, with very little risk. At this point, it makes little difference what category you fall into. You're here, and we're going to make the most of it. You're going to be kept in a hidden slave room. It is relatively soundproof, escape-proof, and is completely stocked with devices and equipment to satisfy our sexual fetishes and deviations. There may or may not be another girl in this room. Occasionally, for variety, we like to keep 2 slaves at the same time. In either case, as the new girl, you'll definitely be getting the most attention for a while. Now, as I said earlier, you're going to be kept like an animal. I guess I've been doing this for too long. I've been raping bitches ever since I was old enough to jerk off and tie little girls' hands behind their back. As far as I'm concerned, you're a pretty piece of meat to be used and exploited. I don't give a flying fuck about your mind or how you feel about the situation. You may be married, have a kid or two, boyfriend, girlfriend, a job, car payment. Fuck it. I don't give a rat's ass about any of that, and I don't want to hear about it. It's something you're gonna have to deal with after you're turned loose. I make it a point to never like a slave, and I fucking sure don't have any respect for you. Here your status is no more than that of one of the dogs or one of the animals out in the barn. Your only value to us is the fact that you have an attractive, usable body. And like the rest of our animals, you will be fed and watered, kept in good physical condition, kept reasonably clean, and allowed to use the toilet when necessary. In return, you're going to be used hard, especially during the first few days when you're new and fresh.
This has been
Alright, don't try to get your channel plug in there. I mean, it's on your channel. Millions of people have listened to it. Just play the fucking tape. So yeah, that's it's a unique intro to hell, I guess. Okay, so a couple funny things said. Not like the ASMR I'm used to listening to. Okay, I feel like this guy's wearing a Pikachu costume while recording. I don't think Pikachu was around when he was doing this, but some kind of cosplay, I'm sure. Is he MGTOW? Most likely, because they are gay. He looks like Drew from Drew's Food Reviews. Okay, I don't know who that is, but I'll take your word for it. Looks like an Arby's Uber. Okay. Dude, I've gotten in an Uber where I thought it was a serial killer. And I asked Uber about it, and they were like, yeah, we gotta roll the dice. I was like, oh, thanks, dude. Thanks for the help. I go, he had saran wrap all over the place. Like, he literally saran wrapped the car, so, like, I couldn't... All I had was the seat that I got in. If he had childproof locks, I'm stuck in this fucking thing. Or if he had the, where I couldn't get out, I'm kind of stuck here. I go, how liberal are you guys of what they're allowed to do with their cars? And basically, they just said nothing. Now, if I had a bigger platform, they probably would have folded. But as you guys know, I do not. But we could change that. We could grow. That could happen. Yeah, he did distort the voice for sure. MGTOW is one of the worst communities. Stefan Molyneux is one of the worst grifters. A lot of these people are like your Stefan Molyneux, Vox Day types, beta bitches that just like think they know stuff about women and how a man should be. But, do you think any of them are slaying pussy or slaying dragons on fucking D&D? Back to our story. Now, as we said, we know what happened on the cassette. The way, and then, the woman would say, the way he talked, I didn't feel like this was his first time. Yeah, he told you it wasn't his first time. She said in a later interview, it was like he knew what he was doing. He told me I was never going to see my family again. He told me he would kill me like the others. On the third day, while Ray was at work, Hendy, accomplice, accidentally left the keys to Vigil's restraints on a table where she was chained while she left the room. Seizing the opportunity, Vigil lunged for the keys and was able to free her hands. Hendy attempted to stop her, but Vigil at this point was sick of the shit. Stabbed her in the neck with an ice pick as she approached. She ran out of the trailer naked, wearing only a slave collar and a padlock chain, In desperation, she knocked on the door of the nearest mobile home. The owner of the house brought Vigil in, and he was also not. He called the police, who promptly arrested Ray and Hendy. Now, that's how it ends. Let's rewind a little bit. Now, David Parker Ray, and occasionally I'll pop him up on the screen here. And I guess I should put my ugly face on the screen. Alright. Yeah, he recorded that tape himself for sure. Now, David Parker Ray, as you see, was born in Belen, New Mexico in 1939. Little is known about his childhood, outside the fact that he was mainly raised by his grandfather, regularly saw his father, who of course beat him. They always have to throw that in there as it's some excuse for being this sadistic. Well, he was beaten as a kid. Yeah, so was I. I've never built a sex dungeon and raped a bunch of people. Not even going to make a joke. It's just, I haven't done that. As a kid, Ray was bullied by his peers for his shyness around girls. These insecurities drove him to drink and abuse drugs. I have done that before. Abused drugs. He served in the U.S. Army, receiving an honorable discharge at the end of his enlistment. Ray was married and divorced 4 times in his life. I think my father was divorced 3 times. He was working on his 4th before he died. It is believed that Ray began his killing spree sometime during the mid-50s, which only came to light with the escape of Vigil. This guy basically went under the radar, killing 50 people. And they had no clue, no idea. They weren't connecting the dots. Not until this woman escaped. And we'll get more into her escape story as we get into his accomplices and all of this stuff. Now, the arrest is key because this is when you get a search warrant to his home and to the trailer. And I mean, if you're first on scene, this is going to be a shocking sight once you open those trailer doors. Can we all just agree on that? Like, it's going to be a little weird. Ray's toy box, again, contained and we'll have a video, we'll have a lot of stills to show you. Actually, let me pull that up as I'm reading. I'm pretty sure. Let me just make sure here. Okay. Because there's some that do a video version, and then there's some that do a bunch of stills. And I think the stills are better because back then the camera work wasn't that great. Now, he spent about $100,000 on this torture chamber. Trailer full of sex toys, torture devices, whips, chains, pulleys, straps, clamps. Gotta have leg spreader bars. And what's the point of a gyno table? I should have just used gyno from the beginning. A gyno table. Gyno chair. What's the point if you don't have leg spreaders? Surgical blades, even saws. And you can even hear the saw probably heard this tape and used that as the wanna play a game because it basically sounded exactly like that. Yep, that is a pussy wagon. A pussy magnet, even if you would want to go that far. Now, there was a wooden contraption used to bend over and immobilize Ray's victim while he and his friends would rape them. Oh yeah, he didn't invite his few friends over for the fun. Now, there is crime scene video of this. We can go through some of that, but the stills do it a lot of justice. In the trailer for Toybox Killer, the police also discovered a videotape from 1996 showing a terrified woman being raped and tortured by Ray and his girlfriend at the time. Now, of course, they taped everything, as most of these people do. They like to keep the souvenirs, keep all the evidence, so when they're caught, the police have literally everything. But it's part of their sadistic nature where they need to relive those moments in between the times where they're committing the act. They can look back on their past work and get some kind of a rush, not as much of a rush as they need as the rapes and killings escalate. And that's when you get into numbers of 50s and 60s. You just can't stop killing. You get a thirst for it. I've heard this from serial killers. I've heard this from just people that killed one person, ended up being two. All of a sudden, it's on the three. And I've heard this from mafia hitmen. You just start getting a taste for it, whether you like it or not. Now, with the publicity surrounding the arrest of David Parker Ray, considering the circumstances of the crime, another woman came forward with a similar story. Angelica Montano was an acquaintance to Ray, who, after visiting his house to borrow cake mix, just like a normal family member, hey, can I borrow some cake mix? Just go to the store next time. She had been drugged, raped, tortured by Ray, being left by a highway out in the desert. There she was found by police, but there had been no follow-up on her case. Ray would often use drugs that would include amnesia, memory loss, and his victims like sodium pentothal, barbiturates, so they cannot properly remember what happened to them. With this stronger case, with two victims testifying to the crimes, the police were able to press Hendy, the accomplice, who quickly folded and began telling them what she knew of the murders. Her testimony led the police to discover that Ray had been helped in the abductions and the murders by his daughter, Glenda Jessie Ray, and a friend named Dennis Roy Yancey. Now, guys out there, if you're looking for a partner, there's the daughter of one David Parker Ray. I mean, she's a ride or die bitch. I can give you that. Imagine the smell. Shout out to 50 people here. Now, Yancey admitted to participating in the murder of Marie Parker, a woman who was abducted, drugged, and tortured for days by Ray and his daughter, before Yancey strangled her to death in 1997. I always like when they say they participated. No, you killed her. Now let's talk about the abduction of Kelly Garrett. After releasing some details about the women in the video, she was identified by her ex-mother-in-law as Kelly Garrett, a former friend of Ray's daughter. So he'd get his daughter to go to bars, befriend people, all this kind of stuff. Hey, come back to the house, and then they'd get on the dog collar. So in July 24, 96, Garrett, after getting into a fight with her then husband, decided to spend the night playing pool with Jessie, the guy's daughter. Jessie is her name. Roofied her beer, and she and her father placed a dog collar and leash on her and brought her to his trailer. He then raped and tortured her for 2 days, keeping her on the date rape drugs the while. After those 2 days, Ray slit her throat, dumped her on the side of the road. And all this time, they're not connecting these cases. Miraculously, Garrett survived the encounter, but no one, neither her husband nor the police, believed her story. In fact, her husband believed she had been cheating on him and divorced her. Due to the effects of the drugs, Garrett had limited recollection of the events after those 2 days, but remembered being raped. I mean, just imagine you go through all of that stuff. The police don't believe you. Your throat's been slit. So regardless, even if the husband thinks you were cheating, that guy tried to kill you. So different time, guys. I guess in the 80s, different time. Hey, you were cheating? We can't look into this, that someone tried to slit your throat. Divorces her. And yes, if you want to get into technicalities, I guess if she was raped, you could call that cheating if you're a sicko. Legend. This isn't how I remember Toy Story. Where's Woody and Buzz? Well, I'm sure Woody showed up every once in a while. I am not at full mast right now. Legend, you're always worried about my dick, my eyes, any sexual components of my lifestyle. Let's see. Yeah, she's a ride or die. EBT says he was just helping them ascend. Someone said very erotic. I love my chat. You guys are great, man. You can make light of this absolutely horrific story. So we could take a little tour. And I'll see if I have the video of it. It's honestly, it's not like some game changer that you need the video, and there's been documentaries made on this, and it's all over. Most people know this story. There's no like conspiracy to it. There's no, well, actually, it was this guy. No, this is a sadistic motherfucker who committed these crimes and was eventually caught. Some of the sickest stuff to me, not really like girlfriends or someone he's been with, because he's manipulated them and probably controlled them to the point where they help him. The daughter, bringing people home is just, I can't get over that. Yeah, I'm sure someone in the everyone is fake community can debunk this for me really quick. Well, actually, trailers, the mud would have just completely overtaken them, so there's no way he could have had that in that part of the country at that time because of the landlines. And actually, if you believe in, are you a globetard? Okay, oh, you don't even believe the earth is flat, so we can't even have a conversation at this point. Whips and chains aren't real. I mean, I'm just trying to think like what they would come up with. Gyno chair? Actually, you can't get a you can't get a gyno chair if you're not a doctor. Everybody knows that. Right? The vinyl craggle on the tape. You can't record the vinyl. They might have put that in for effect, though. EBT's oddly aroused. Hey, what's up, Joe? Good to see you, man. I'm glad Jesus is sticking this one out, because you gotta. I mean, do you accept his sins and let him into heaven if he just apologizes? I gotta know. Shout out to 50 people sticking around too. We got some stuff to go to. I'm just looking up something really quick. Crime scene video, because I know like a lot of people put up shit and then they commentate over it. It's like, nah, just give me the raw footage of this shit. Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime and 101. Make sure you hit that sub button, hit that button up there. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you get everything that I put out. And at the end of every video, they got the, hey guys, you made it the whole way. Thanks for that. If you guys want to catch more videos, we got one here or we got one over here. It's like, dude, I want to fucking put you in a fucking toy box because it's fucking bothering me. Do you guys like understand what I'm saying? These fucking people are just so fucking annoying. Hey guys. Let's see here. Yeah, they release a lot of photos, but this crime scene videotape is a little different. They don't really release it. They kind of release still images, but that's okay because I got a bunch of them right here. So meet David Parker Ray. Sounds like he's setting up a dating profile on Truther, the new dating app for conspiracy theorists, where everyone's too paranoid to meet. That's my new slogan for it. Truther, the dating site where we're all too paranoid to actually meet each other. We could have a gang stalking section. People that think they're being gang stalked because they saw 3 red cars in one day. Actually, sidebar really quick. I can't do polls on this like you can on YouTube. But like on the in general and like a percentage wise, one, do you believe in gang stalking? And I'm not talking about the government following someone, but the gang stalking that we're talking about that you see on the internet of people being followed. What percentage of that do you believe in? 3%, 5%, 100%? Like, what do you guys think about that? Because I believe in some form of it, and have evidence that, you know, some of it has actually happened. But there, for every one, there has to be 10 to 15 that are just absolutely not real. 3%? 3% out of 100 is what I'm saying. I just want to know what you guys think of gang stalking. Alright. Well, if you guys answer, you'll answer, and I'll just check later. You've never heard of gang stalking? Oh boy, you got a rabbit hole to go down. Someone says, I don't think anyone is being gang stalked. I've came across a couple stories, but few and far between. Few and far between. And I actually did it on the first season of Spooky Sundays. It was called Project Cameleo, and it's a very interesting story. But yeah, I would say for every one real story, there is just way too many that aren't. I mean, it's just, you know, it's the guy sitting across from you on the bus, like, oh, this guy's watching me, like that kind of shit. The glow in the dark niggers came in the middle of the night. That's CIA term. That's not a racial term. That means CIA. Glow in the dark niggers came in the middle of the night. They painted my walls. That's how they get you. They got sound devices in it. Anyways, I'm getting off target, and I've already thrown the N-word in, so I ruined this video for YouTube. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry, Captain Healthy. I still like you. It has nothing to do with you. So, in front of his compound, he would have his full name, David P. Ray, 53 Base Road. Based. Here's the picture. I mean, what do you call that, Benton? Is that just a... What kind of truck is this? I see like 3 wheels on each side. Is this like a mobile home? Is this a trailer? Is this a box car? What do we got here? Even if Benton is still here. It's just like a weird trailer of some sort, but it obviously has wheels and can be put on the back of a car. I would say, yeah, it's like a Brendan Schaub food truck diary type situation. But you guys can see it, so you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, aside from the sex toys, syringes, a fur-lined coffin where Ray would place his victims to torture them. Well, at least it's fur-lined and not, concrete. And a box with a hole cut out to hold the victims' heads. The Toybox killer also contained a collection of anatomically correct dolls, which he placed in chains and bondage positions. Like this one. Any of you guys feeling that? The various positions and implements that he used were strikingly similar to actual torture he inflicted on his victims. Yeah, I think that's the point. He'd practice on the dolls. Although no bodies were found, Ray was accused by his accomplices of killing several people, and the estimated number was that he and his accomplices has gotten away with murder of as many as 60 women. Now, here's just a little, little garage work. You got your duct tape, clamps, you got some, nothing too ominous here. I mean, I'm guessing these are dildos of some sort, straps. I mean, the guy's using gloves. That's nice of him. Is that Snooki? I don't know, man. She seems to gain a little weight from there. Ray sexually tortured and presumably killed his victims using whips, chains, pulley straps, clamps, leg spreader bars, surgical blades, and saws. So there's just a collection of things to tie people up with. Inside the torture room, along with numerous sex toys, torture implements, syringes, and detailed diagrams showing different methods and techniques for inflicting pain, there was a homemade electrical generator that was used for torture. A mirror was mounted in the ceiling, why not, of the gyno table, upon which he would strap the victims. Ray would also put his victims in a wooden contraption that bent them over and immobilized them while he had his dogs and other friends rape them. Now, let me just throw that in one more time. He had a contraption that would bend them over so he could bring his dogs in to rape them. The worst thing? Ray is said to have wanted his victims to see everything he was doing to them. That's why he implemented the mirror. I mean, and he videoed it for his own pleasure, for sure. No, not his dogs, like my boys. He'd have his boys and the dogs. Fuck what you heard. It's what you're hearing. X gonna give it to you. No, I'm just kidding. You add that song to anything, it's instantly better. Hypes it up. But damn, I mean that's a little much. So, upon drugging these women, as well as the socioeconomic standing of many of the women involved, made it difficult for their testimony to be readily accepted by jurors. Though he was able to beat 2 of the cases, the Toybox killer was ultimately sentenced to, one of these ridiculous, 250-year prison terms for numerous offenses, of killing, torture, and all this stuff. Jessie Ray, the daughter, received a sentence of 9 years. Cooperated. Snitch. You don't know how to live by the code. I was watching this guy on YouTube. His name's Big Herc. And, he's this big buck ape, black guy. And it's all about living by the code. Never snitch. And, he had this, white-collar criminal on that was explaining to him like how he would just tell on anybody to get any year shaved off his sentence, and like you could have just saw this black guy's face. He was in complete disbelief, and like the guy tried to explain to him like, oh yeah, like 90% of the people on your show have cooperated, they just don't tell you. Like in the federal Bureau of Prisons, it's like an 87% snitch rate. So like all these people that say they don't snitch, it's like this is the biggest myth in prison. Also, Jesse Ray received the 9 years, and then Cindy Hendy, the girlfriend, was given the old 36 years in prison. Yes, I had to throw that in there. As Matt would say, it's, you know, the code. Got our 33s. OB says Big Herc will bust your cheeks. I don't know, man. Watch the interview. If you guys know who Matthew Cox is, one, his story is interesting as hell as a con man that they tried to put in prison for 27 years. A con man. 27 years. So just imagine what this guy was doing. Now, David Parker Ray, rest his soul, died in 2002, a mere 3 years into his sentence. Now, how many victims are there? Could be 50, could be 60. They really have no idea. Though Hendy and Yancey both identified areas they believed Ray disposed of these bodies, police found no human remains in any of these locations. It is believed that a serial killer who puts this amount of effort into his horrifying toy box and who killed numerous women over many years would likely have a greater number of victims. The many unidentified personal effects and jewelry found in his trailer also point to a greater number of victims. They're still going off leads. As long as we're getting those leads, as long as the exposure and the press keeps generating interest, we're going to keep investigating this, they say. Well, the guy's dead. So maybe some of the family can find some solace somewhere, but I don't know. I just don't think you do. I don't think there's any closure when you hear what happened to your daughter. And it's the classic. It's definitely the classic, and they got him on film for sure in his torture dungeon, torture box, whatever you want to call it, explaining things. And Big Hurricane busted no cheeks. He wants to stay out of jail as long as possible, but he'll probably get reoffended for violating parole because he still has to live by the code. Can't snitch on anybody. Well, they're snitching on you, so. Shark Buddy. Hey guys, come fuck my abductees, but the dog's gotta go first.
On the 22nd of March 1999, a terrified woman ran through the streets of New Mexico, naked.
And afraid.
She'd escaped after being held captive by sadistic sexual torturer David Parker Ray. She wasn't his only victim.
I was scared. I didn't know if he was going to kill me or not.
He could get a woman in virtually any position. She was his sex slave.
More than 30 women had passed through Parker Ray's torture chamber. The police suspected that many of them had been murdered.
I've never had any question that David Parker Ray is a serial killer.
3 days of sexual torture at the hands of David Parker Ray. Parker Ray had been arrested. He was a 59-year-old mechanic and a father of two.
Go and state your name for the record.
David Ray. David Parker Ray.
He claimed that the prostitute had agreed to a session of rough bondage.
Yes.
Okay. Was she a willing participant, or
Yes.
did she not want to do it?
She was willing.
Okay.
At Parker Ray's house, the police
Oh, she wanted me to kill her, sir.
were discovering the horrifying truth. The search team had arrived at a seemingly innocuous white trailer.
was pretty amazing. It was remarkable. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. The first thing my eyes focused on was this black chair, which turned out to be a gynecology chair, just sitting there empty.
There was medical equipment and everywhere. Drills, modified drills with sexual devices on them and cages. I mean, it was just this unbelievable looking den. This was a torture chamber.
David Parker Ray called the trailer his Toybox, or Satan's Den.
To see it the first time just kind of gave you a feeling of sickness, and it was just remarkable how everything was set up. Everything in here denoted pain. Everything in here denoted destruction.
There were several items in there that were obviously meticulously crafted by hand and were very, very sinister. David was known as very adept with his hands, as an excellent mechanic.
By day, Parker Ray worked for the local state park.
And this is David's truck right here, his original truck.
He was well respected.
I hate when they do shit like that. This guy drove this truck one time. Like, cool, dude. I'm just skimming through this because they show a little bit of video from inside.
Tape somewhere. And many were found. There were probably 100, at least 100.
Most of the tapes contained nothing of relevance, but one would prove explosive. It showed Parker Ray testing his equipment.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know how it's going to work.
Then it cut.
This might turn it off.
And when it came back to life, Parker Ray was with a captive.
It's what you see here is the inside of the toy box. You see a youngish, blonde-haired woman with David, strapped down naked. He's standing over top of her or kneeling next to her at all times. He's constantly touching her, and it's obvious that he's trying to get some kind of sexual gratification out of this. She appeared to be unconscious, or at least unresponsive to anything he was doing to her.
Now, on top of the videos, many photos were discovered, and he obviously kept a lot of videos off-site, or probably destroyed them at some point, or they're just not going to be found. But he obviously filmed all of his victims. It's D-Live. It's me. We're closing up on the end pretty soon. You know, a good hour of this is like really all you need for an explanation on some of this stuff. But if anybody does want to call in on D-Live, you just let me know in the chat, and I'll let you call in. But I'll explain a couple more things. Yeah, give it a refresh. Like I said, tomorrow I am going to do a test run on the PC and see how it goes. I downloaded the newest OBS on it. I think I have everything set up correctly. I'm gonna run a test stream, and then I'll do a live stream and just see how it goes. Just a standard. You know, no real overlays. I still have to have those built for the new OBS and on the new PC and all that. But I will have them. Someone said LOL call in. Yeah, like if someone wanted to call in and just ask a question or comment or chat or just whatever, man. It's not like an absurd thing. Yeah, try a refresh. If it keeps buffering, let me know. And we'll talk just a little bit about the Wayman in his life. So, how he enslaved women in his torture chamber with help from his girlfriend. Let me see here. So he told the story in the beginning about Vigil and how she escaped, and that's how he was caught. And, you know, this wasn't the only victim of the couple. He had constructed a bunker-like cargo trailer that he parked behind his home to satiate his obsession with kidnapping and torture. Videotapes, blah, blah, blah. Now, David Parker Ray was a resident of a small desert town, and this is crazy. Quantum of consciousness. The town of the small desert was called Truth of Consequences. How about that guy? How about that fucking Drew? Truth or Consequences. TOC. I forgot all about that. Is Quantum of Conscious the Toybox killer? Someone posted in your Discord a shit. It was a cult magazine with a guy on the cover that looked just like Matt. That was crazy. If someone has that photo, send it to me. But anyways, when he met Cindy Hendy 20 years his junior, a mechanic and a park ranger for nearby Elephant Butte State Park, Ray had been married and divorced 4 times and had a 31-year-old daughter, Jessie Ray. Abandoned by his mother and father at 10, Ray was reportedly raised by his overbearing grandparents and was described as withdrawn and socially awkward. As for Hendy, she claimed she was abused as a child, but was not believed by her family when she came forward at the age of 11. Like Ray, Hendy had become withdrawn. Quote, if someone is sexually abused as a child and emotionally abused, psychologically abused, that's certainly going to have an impact on them. FBI agent Ellen O'Toole. Hendy dropped out of school, that's Cindy, at 15, gave birth to his son at 16, had 2 more children by different men in her 20s. When her youngest hit the age of 10, Cindy felt she could no longer raise any of her kids. Cindy felt she couldn't bring up children and shipped them off to the grandparents. After relocating to Truth or Consequences, Hendy was turned on to S&M by Ray. They seemed to feed off each other, and Cindy got an opportunity to let go of her inhibitions. So this escalates and escalates and escalates, and all of a sudden, David Parker Ray is bringing her into his world that he loves, and she's a willing participant. At no point does she turn on him and say, he made me do this, or I'd be killed, or I'd be tortured. She was willing participant all the way. Now, as for the daughter, and I just want to add these 2 in because I just think it's important a little bit. Just, you know, I get the girlfriend that's been abused and you can get her into it, but to get the daughter, yeah, Quantum of Conscious from what's the place he's from? King of Prussia, Truth or Consequences. Oh, of course, New York Times, an article from fucking 1989. They can't let you read that one. God forbid. It's just so funny with sites like Archive that they like still think you're gonna pay the New York Times, who's literally been owned for 106 years by one Jewish family, and has all the money in the world, yeah, we're gonna pay you. Get some advertisers. Think for the glory of Christ says you will all rest well tonight. I think so. I try to present these, and some nights I go super spooky, but in this case, it's so ridiculous. So, suspect's daughter is arrested in sex and torture case. The daughter of David Parker Ray, the man charged with kidnapping women, sexual torture, and murder, was arrested and charged with helping her father seize and assault women in 1996. A complaint filed in Sierra County Magistrate Court charged the daughter, Glenda Jane Ray, also known as Jessie Ray. Glenda Jane Ray. Your name's Jessie. Jessie. No, I'm not talking about you, Jessie. Calm down. With kidnapping and 6 counts of sexual penetration. It said she and her father, David Park, had kidnapped and assaulted the women over the course of 4 days in July 1996, and I'm sure they did it a lot longer than that. The arrest was the 4th since a naked woman was found running down the road nearby Elephant Butte Street on March 22nd. She told the authorities that she'd been kept in chains, raped, and tortured for 3 days in the trailer of Mr. Ray, 59, and another woman then came forward with similar allegations against Mr. Ray and his girlfriend, Cindy Hendy. They are awaiting trial. They pleaded not guilty in the case, of course. The case against Miss Ray stemmed from the investigation of her father, said Lieutenant Greg Richardson of the state police. Oh, it really dropped off to 36 viewers. Sorry about that buffering, guys. Is everything coming in good now? Because I definitely lost some viewership there. Let me reopen my DLive here. Make sure I'm accurate. Give me 2 seconds. I just want to make sure I'm on the right page. Okay, yeah. Lost some viewers. That's all good. Investigators have followed a lot of leads and a lot of tips in a month and a half. A federal state task force has searched Miss Ray's home, collecting more than 1,000 pieces of evidence and excavated around the property. As part of the investigation, Dennis Roy Yancey, 27, also of Truth or Consequences, was arrested on April 9th and charged with murder and kidnapping in the death of Marie B. Parker. Miss Parker was last seen in 97 at a saloon not far from the home of Mr. Ray. So, that was the daughter's involvement, arrested, given 9 years for 4 torture cases, which I think 2 of them ended in murders. But if you can't find the body, they just charge you with these kind of crimes. And I think that'll do it as far as the story of David Parker Ray. I don't think I have to do it, have to overdo it. I think you guys understand the story of exactly what happened. If you guys have any questions, you don't have to donate to ask a question or anything like that. Like, nothing like that. We'll just say Discord call-ins are not happening, because it is what it is. If anybody wants to support the channel, you can do so by, if you have Cash App, it's just $ Croco Truth. CashApp.com/ $ Croco Truth. That's if you want to donate, and I will read any messages or questions or comments, or if you hate me or whatever the case may be. But you don't have to donate to ask a question. But there's the link to that if anybody does want to donate. Now, I will check because my notifications have been coming in late. I don't think any donations came in, but I'll check. Oh, see? I'm wrong. I'm talking out of my ass. Let me read this donation. Oh, my bad. Just K donated $10. No note, but Just K, we love Just K. We just love Just K. She's a great part of the community. Yeah, so I think that'll do it for this stream. Unless if I can find something else that's relevant to the case. Let's see what this Daily Motion video is really quick, if it still exists. Sometimes they get pulled down. It's called The Sex Chamber, so we'll see what that's all about. Daily Motion, great site. This is one of the ones Vox Day would use to embed his videos.
On the 22nd of March 1999, a terrifying...
Okay, so it's the same one that we saw earlier. They just ripped it. Okay. I will read one more thing, and then I'll let you guys get out of here. I appreciate all of you for coming here. I really do mean that. Someone said, "Oh, Glaxo, haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you, man." Said Doug this one. Yeah, I wanted to do like 4 or 5, because my other content is kind of really different than this. Like, I mean, you guys know what I cover and the stuff I like to dive deep into and what I do. So to get into the rhythm and how I want the shows to go, they're going to look way different. There's going to be a different overlay that's specific for the Spooky Sundays and all that stuff. So these are just kind of like, I'm just getting my spooky legs back up under me. Because it's a different delivery. It's a different way of how I like to set them up. But it's a fun idea. Like, I heard Drew talking the other day that he was thinking about doing a morning show. Copy and coffee with Croco, but I mean, if he wants to do a morning show, I messaged him thinking I thought it was a great idea, just a test. Now, obviously, he recorded a monologue for women he kidnapped. He involved bestiality, multiple accomplices, drugged and brainwashed his victims. He developed an obsession with sadomasochism at an early age. His daughter tried to tell the FBI so the daughter that was arrested also tried to tell the FBI what he was doing in the 80s, and they didn't believe her. But then they arrested her years later when she was implicated. The Toybox was in the middle of nowhere, small town of 1,300 people. Wasn't cheap, over $100,000. His victims were all caught in the same place. So anyone that got out, all were found at the same place. After Ray was caught, he was sentenced to 224 years in prison. The remains of the victims are all still missing. He also worked for the government, New Mexico Parks Department. So just a couple fun facts about David Parker Ray. There will not be a cooking show with me ever. I told you guys, if you give me like a certain amount of money, like I'll do like if you guys want me to do like a Patreon cooking show, I would have to not you, we'd have to set up something where like I would have to that's the only thing I would ever have to charge for, because I really don't want to do it. But I think I have a beautiful kitchen at my house. It would be lovely to do, but like I work in this field, so the last thing I want to do is when I come home and make content is cook. If you ever want to watch a show about cooking, watch Cooking with Jack. Just look up Cooking with Jack on YouTube, and you'll get the fix you need on anything cooking related. And you'll have a laugh, because the guy's... he's not being a comedian, even though it's funny. He's dead serious and thinks he's a good chef. Everything is terrible. The guy's had 3 strokes. His arm barely works, and all he makes is the fattest fuck food you've ever seen. Going for stroke number 4. But anyways, I'm keeping you guys too long. I love you guys. I'm happy you stuck out with me. Another episode. I think think tomorrow we get back to some regular scheduled content, though. So look out for a stream tomorrow. I'll let you guys know what time. If you need a Discord link, at Croco Truth on Twitter, hit me up. I will send you a Discord link. Viking, I will send you that Andrew Torba link. Drew, thank you for at the end of your show sending people over. Also, go to Chalk Body Outline on YouTube and on D Live. Go to Enslaved by Truth on YouTube. Am I missing any other channels that are in the chat right now? If you have a channel, just say you have a channel. And tell people to go sub. There's enough for everybody. There's never a need to keep anybody down or tell people not to sub to them. People that do that are really gay, gatekeeping. It's you know, if you have an audience and people like you and people want to know what you like watching, don't go up in the loft and pull the ladder up behind you. Those people are the worst. Love you guys. I don't have a Spooky Sunday ending saying yet. That's something I'm going to do for season 2. So I'm just going to keep it Davy Croco for this time. Love you guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the engagement in the chat. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Good night. Peace out.